Welcome to a virtual book club. It's the book club that you don't even need to read the book to participate. Um, every week or every second Thursday, we hold the virtual book club, and it started in October of 2020 during the pandemic. I'm Benita Lee, and I'm joined by different guests all over the Americas today to discuss books, connect with others, or share thoughts and tell stories. Join us. Don't forget to say hi or tell us where you're from. I know that my voice and there's a little bit of a technical difficulty here. My voice and my lips don't match. But here we have Hal, Hal from Florida. We have Carissa from Colorado,
Yeah, from Denver.
and Denver. And for the first time, we have Hannah and Jenny
From Texas.
from Texas. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you.
What part of
We're
Texas?
reading The Right Call by
Dallas Fort Worth.
Dallas. Yeah, our regular Texan isn't here. I had to fill in. Um, I see that you're in your shop right now, Jenny.
Yes.
If you don't follow Jenny, S Seed on, or no, is it S or C Seed?
Sita.
Sita. If you don't follow her on LinkedIn, you should do that. Okay, well, I hope the sound is better now. We're reading Sally Jenkins' The Right Call, and we're having our second session about this book. Is there anything that you guys would like to say?
I still trying to start the last one called Inference New and Expanded.
What are you? What is it? What did you get it on? Like, is it paper or audio or?
So I'm still trying to finish my Supernatural by Joe Dispenza. So I'm almost
Okay.
done, and I can start on the one that you guys recommend in our network group, Inference New and Expanded by Robert Cialdini. How to say it?
Robert Cialdini's book.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fabulous book. Highly recommended. I don't know that we're going to be doing that at least this year as a book club, but I still would. I've read it twice, so it's a great book.
Yeah, I saw that you read almost everything. No, after you post that in the message, I went to purchase it in Audible.
Okay. Um, we're gonna read something next month. We'll read that one, Jenny, for sure. But next month we're probably gonna go to one that you might have even a little bit more interest in. I think you will. But yeah, like the book club, you really only need to read one book a month to follow along with the book club. Because we go pretty slow, and often we just meet like twice a month to talk about the one book. So it's not like you'll ever be behind. And even if you are, I guess spoiler alert.
No, I don't mind. I'm the type that I'll find out the ending of a movie before I go watch the movie.
To see if it's any good.
Yeah.
Life's too short to spend time on something that you're not that's not beneficial. So. If you don't like the ending, maybe you just shouldn't watch it, right?
Rotten
Have
Tomato.
you ever not gone? What's that?
Rotten Tomatoes reviews are important to me. If the Rotten Tomatoes said it's like a 3% positive, I'm not going to watch.
Yeah, good point. I feel like I feel like we kind of do that at book club too. Where we read the reviews and it slightly sways our decisions.
Yeah, there's so much good stuff to read that I don't think you should base your opinion based on ratings. But if I'm deciding whether I'm going to spend my money on something and something's not rated very well, I probably will not make the purchase because it's not only, just not the financial investment, but the time. And I find that Amazon ratings are usually much higher, about a half a point higher on average than Goodreads ratings. And Benita gives me a hard time that I'm such a tough grader, and I usually rate things lower than Goodreads. So
I'm going to trust you.
No, and don't trust me. That's dangerous.
No, I'll definitely consider your input before I purchase.
Thank you.
I do that too.
Yeah, definitely always looking for books that kind of challenge my way of thinking instead of, I get when I read something that's kind of along the ways I'm already thinking, it's like, oh, it was nice to read that and revalidate what I'm thinking, but I didn't get anything new from it, So I find that with a lot of books, I don't know, it's finding stuff that really kind of challenges things. And you're just like, oh my gosh, that challenge, I love everything about this book except for this. And this kind of challenges that. So I've had a few, there's only been a few books I've run across like that though. So.
Right.
Like more.
Yeah. And I forgot to ask you, Carissa, but what was the book that we're reading in February?
Oh my gosh, I have to look it up again.
Yeah, like that was one of those books for you, I think. Like it was written by a woman, and it was like a real game changer for you. So I really want to read that one.
Oh, was it Inclusify? Was that what I'd recommended?
I can't remember.
Yeah, I'll have to look at it again. Inclusify is one of my favorite. I'll have to look and remind myself what I'd recommended.
Okay,
I
great.
do like Nina Totenberg's Dinner with Ruth. I think it's Dinner with Ruth.
Is it?
Yeah, that book's been on my list of ones I would certainly like to read. I don't know if it's going to be great for book club. I can't say, but yeah, I'm a big fan of Nina Totenberg and what her reporting on NPR and her, was it Breakfast with Ruth, where she had spent a lot of time with Ruth Bader Ginsburg over the years, and
Yes.
yeah, so two people I have a lot of admiration for.
I totally enjoyed that one so much.
Dinner with Ruth.
Dinners with Ruth. Ooh, yeah, I like that.
Especially it's told by Nina herself, right? She narrated, for my Audible. So it makes, if you like her already on NPR, you definitely have no problem.
Right. Oh, I like that one too. I never even heard of it.
So the Right Call, what do you guys like about it?
So The Right Call, I'm going to read you the blurb.
Yeah.
We didn't do that last time, so we kind of went all over the place. So for those listeners and for Jenny and Hannah, we'll get you caught up. This is what the back of the book says. The Washington Post sports writer and New York Times bestselling author of the fascinating The Wall Street Journal, The Real All Americans, presents a love letter to extraordinary coaches and athletes she's covered over the years and the actionable principles of excellence they embody. Sports writer Sally Jenkins has spent her entire adult life observing and writing about great coaches and athletes. With her engaging and expert prose, she's helped shape the way we view those talented sports icons. But somewhere along the line, she realized they had begun to shape her. Now she presents her astonishing inner qualities, the astonishing inner qualities in these same people that push them to overcome pressure, elevate their performances, and discover champion identities. Based on years of observing, interviewing, and analyzing elite coaches and playmakers such as Bill Belichick, Peyton Manning, Michael Phelps, and more, Jenkins reveals the 7 principles behind success: conditioning, practice, discipline, candor, culture, resilience, and intention. And so, like it says, discover how you can apply these same principles to your life and become your own champion. Colorful, inspirational, and accessible. The Right Call is the one-stop shop for anyone to learn how to effectively elevate themselves to greatness. Do you guys agree with that? Like,
Did we lose you, Benita?
no, I'm still here.
Oh, I didn't know if that was the end of the sentence. So what do you think about that? That was a full stop?
Yeah.
Okay, because your screen's frozen, so I can't tell when you're talking or not talking by the screen.
Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna bring whoever is backstage on, and then I'm gonna leave myself and come back in. We have with us the incredible Vernon Webb and
Oh man,
Hello.
Oh wow.
unbelievable Chris
we got
Postle.
we got the. Did we get the follically challenged crowd to join us all at once?
One on Chris.
They have the same barber.
Yes.
I'm working my way there. You just can't see the back of my head. It's spreading quick.
Bite the bullet and go on and take care of it.
I'm one comb away from a complete comb over, so it's getting pretty scary.
Okay, I'm
But
gonna
we
leave and come
digress,
back in.
Benita.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna leave and come back in. You guys get caught up.
All right. So Benita asked the question. She read sort of the Washington Post related testimonial about the book, The Right Call, and then ended with what do you think about that? So it was, as any review would be that somebody's going to want to put on the jacket of their book, it's a bunch of superlatives about how wonderful the book is and how insightful it is. My reaction to the book, because she ended with, what do you think about that? I liked the book. No question. I definitely liked the book. And I thought, just like I always do, I capture insights. I got 30 LinkedIn posts I could do from this book because there's just some wonderful, wonderful insights. The parallels that she draws from, many well-renowned sports figures. If you follow sports, if you don't, some of these names might mean nothing to you, but if you follow sports, especially professional sports, you'll recognize the names and, their approaches to the game as a coach or a player are underscore to me a lot of things that are very transferable into business in terms of approach. And she outlines it in the chapters that Benita mentioned. But I don't think there's not a lot of depth. So it's interesting to me to read about a Bill Belichick and a Peyton Manning and a Tom Brady and a Diana Nyad and what their approach to their craft was, and the insights you can gain from that. But there's not a lot of depth beyond that. It's somewhat superficial once you get past that. And so an Amazon rating of 4.6 on a scale of 1 to 5 felt inflated to me. Goodreads, as last time I checked, was like 4.29. And I'm wavering between a 3.5 and a 4 on this for me.
Yeah.
But unless I wrote the book myself, I still wouldn't give it a 5. So I'd probably give myself a 2. But so I mean,
Tough crowd. Okay.
yeah.
I
When I'm staring at an inventory of books I'll never get through in my lifetime, and a longer list of ones that I would love to buy and read, I guess I'm being discerning in what I choose.
I'm finding the same. It didn't really go into the level of detail, and like she didn't apply it to like. Well, I suppose she doesn't have she doesn't have the background to apply it over to business. I found Shoe Dog more relatable than I found The Right Call. Shoe Dog was
some of
the story of the thing of Nike.
That was Phil Knight's story about Nike from the beginnings.
Okay.
I would not have even put those in the same grouping, because one is sort of a ghost-written autobiographical account, and this is more, the sports writer, following sport, getting in, taking a step back and seeing insights over her career about how, people in the realm of sports who have excelled, what were the key things they did, their characteristics that stood out that might be transferable to business.
True.
Okay.
Well, there's a lot of other things that aren't there. I mean, a sporting event has an end to it. Life doesn't. You're constantly going. You constantly have to. I had a company that set they set win as as one of their values. Or even having win in that. Well, win means there's a conclusion. So I mean, when you win something, but in life, I mean, you win and you keep going. So I don't know. I think that's the biggest one of the biggest differences.
Yeah, that's a good point. I remember Simon Sinek making that differentiation between like sports and life and work, is that life is an infinite game and sports is a zero-sum game.
I think it depends which aspect and which part of the organization and run the sports you're talking to. They may have a vastly different opinion from that. If you're the GM, win is a verb. Like you treat it in life, you're winning. You got to create that winning culture. You're focused on the future. But if you're a player looking for your contract, sure, maybe the game's over and you're just looking to get paid. I don't know, but I think
if you're Jimbo Fishy, you get fired and you still get to collect $75 million over the next 8 years, whether you work anywhere else or not.
So maybe that's a win.
It's a win for him, that's for sure. I don't know if it's a win for Texas A&M, but it's a win for him.
And when she talked about conditioning, I think it was Michael Phelps, and like at the Olympics when he had done 12 relays already or something like that. And he was like, oh, I don't know, like I'm so exhausted. I don't know if I can do one more. And then he found that, you know, through his conditioning, like just pretending he was at the pool at practice, he just went through the motions, muscle memory.
What
Well,
was,
you know, like in sports,
I
they
can't-
say you practice how you play, right? So I mean, you know, in a situation, it's like anything, right? You go skydiving, you got to know where your cords are. You got to practice. You're a field medic for the military. You got to know where your tourniquets are and where your kit is, and you practice that every single day. So I think it's the same thing as that is in sports, right? You got to practice, and so you play how you practice. It's natural. It's movement.
It's interesting you said that, Chris, because I did capture one thing that I thought was interesting, and I'm trying to find it here about, you know, it was about the fact that, you know, here it is. Rarely do we practice under the conditions we perform in, you know, and so, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, is the football team practicing, you know, handling, is the quarterback practicing handling a wet football, even though practice is in pure sunshine, because it may be raining at the game that you're actually playing? Are they practicing that, you know, and they talked about an example in there, you know, of, you know, purposely doing that, you know, wetting the football, you know, because it was to simulate game conditions. So you port that logic over to work and business. Do we really practice for the real game conditions in a business setting, or are we reacting to what's thrown at it and we weren't prepared for it?
Well, as a business owner, I have to say a lot of time is reaction, because you have never had that challenge before, most likely. Like every customer is different, every project is different. It's not like, because I have done like 10 other projects before, I know exactly how to handle it. You may be tougher and you have gained wisdom, but then the next project is not necessary. You can plan ahead completely. So for me, I have seen it in corporate and in my own life as a business person, that is a lot of reaction.
Agreed. You know, but what can you, you know, are there things you can anticipate, and do you prepare for that? You know, using a football analogy again, does the football team, do they practice, you know, 2-minute drills? You know, we're down by 6 points. A field goal isn't going to do it. There's 2 minutes left. We got the ball. What are we going to do with it? You know, and do they simulate the conditions because they are predictable, or are they just running through the motions? You know, using your example, Benita, you know, did Michael Phelps' coach, you know, tell him, I don't care how tired you get back in the pool, you know, do more. Well, he wasn't at that level of exhaustion in the Olympics for the first time ever before. They had prepared for it, but it was building that confidence so that when it mattered, you could rely on, in that case, muscle memory. You could rely on what you already knew.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that she used Michael Phelps as an example. I remember, like, after those Olympics, I read articles, and maybe it was from like People magazine or some smut magazine, I can't remember. But they talked more about he was an amphibian or something, like his physique. They talked more about his physique than his mental ability. So I was like, oh, this is all news to me.
Didn't he get into a drug problem after that?
Yeah, he was a big time pothead for sure. But he was dealing with the physical attribute, the physical demands of the sport. But there was, he seemed to be a perfect example of someone who wasn't dealing with the mental demands placed on him. And he didn't have an outlet for that. It was harder on himself than anybody's ever going to be on him. And we all do that to ourselves too.
You just remind me that as a business owner for what I do, working on apparel development for clients, that in a sense, we are the coach. You have to take them along the journey. So the mental part, it's like you are steering them, your clients on to make it happen for themselves.
Yeah, I feel like consulting could be called coaching sometimes. Vern is like, maybe. Vern really is a coach. Vern is an executive coach, so
Everyone seems to have an opinion about what they think that a coach does.
right.
And and I have no problem with what other people think. I know what it is that I do. And in order to get from where you are to where you want to go, I work with successful business owners, CEOs, professionals. And these are people who say, yes, I know I'm doing well, I'm successful, but I know in my heart I could be doing better. I just can't figure out how I can do that. And when I make those efforts to do better, I will either say or do some things that I realize are holding me back. And so I need someone else's point of view to help me get from where I am to where I want to go. I said, that's my job, to say to you what it is you don't want to hear and to have you doing things that you don't want to do in order to get from where you are to where I want to go. Job of a coach.
Yeah.
Tough love.
Yeah. Yeah, very much.
Vern's a better coach than I am, because when I tell clients what they shouldn't be doing and what they should be doing, yet they get rid of me not far after that.
I start my relationship with my clients with 3 areas. And I said, this is what I need. I said, first of all, I need for you to have a goal. Benita, this sounds familiar to you, I know. You got to have a goal. If you don't have a goal, why are we talking? And they go, no, I got a goal. That's good. I said, second, I need for you to, create the time off the grid. And that means doing the mental training exercises. It's not just something that you listen to me talk or you take some notes and that's it. No, you've got to put in the work. You've got to put in the time. And putting in the time here is doing 10-minute mental training exercises, 2 in the morning and 2 in the late afternoon. And I said, and that's not negotiable. You have to do the time. You have to put the time in. I said, and third, I need you to be coachable. And we've had a whole book on how to be coachable. I said, but bottom line, I need you to be coachable. I'm going to ask you to do some things that may not necessarily make sense to you, but it's okay. It doesn't have to make sense to you. I just need for you to do them. I need you to listen to what I'm saying and trust me on this one. And so those are the 3 things that I tell my clients I've got to have. 2 out of 3 is not going to cut it. I need all 3. And so if you're willing to abide by those 3 areas, I said, we can work together. And if you will abide by all 3 of those areas, I can literally promise you improvement. If you do all 3. 2 out of 3 is not going to cut it. Do all 3. And when
Meatloaf said 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Uh, in most areas, it's like hand grenades. Okay, uh, close enough. Government work. No, need all three. And I
Do you
explained it to him. I said it's scientific. It's a formula, and because it's a formula and because it is scientific, I said I know it works. So if I seem a little confident, it's because I know it works.
do you think that she focused did you get any sense from the book? Did she focus on like the relationship between coach and player?
Yeah. I mean, the examples that were used between Brady and Belichick, between Manning and I can't remember the coach at the time, some of the relationships that Dungy had with his, players. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, and I remember last week Rob was saying that he remembers his coach from when he was like a teenager.
For a lot of people, a coaching relationship is special, and people remember those kind of relationships. I remember the coaches I've had in my life and the things that they tell me, and they will say some things that nobody else can tell me because they know me that well. And so when they start giving me tough love, then it's like suck it up and listen. Put your ego in your back pocket, suck it up and listen. You may hear some things you like to hear, and you may hear some things you may not necessarily want to hear, but it's all done with the intention of making you better than you are right now. And because we're in agreement that that's what I want, to be better than I am now, suck it up and listen. Don't get my feelings hurt. I don't have to like it. I just have to do it.
Would you say coaching's like leadership, where you have you can't have, I mean, you might have a manager and you have a leader and a manager, you have your difference. Is there a difference between a coach and a leader? I mean, you can have there's lots of bad coaches out there. There's a lot of people that don't help you get to.
A lot of bad leaders out there too.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of bad leaders who became coaches who are really horrible, but
yeah, I mean, I know that, I mean, I've seen coaches, especially like watching my kids, I've seen coaches that, that they ignore somebody on the team, or they ignore that weakest link, or, your child's not, they may have strengths and they don't spend time with the weakest, with the child that might need a little bit more. And that might be eventually, become the strongest player. I mean, look at somebody like Michael Jordan, right? Like he was cut from, what was it, high school that he was cut from that team?
High school. Yeah.
So he didn't, I mean, and then he went in and he actually, I mean, he kind of coached himself, and then coaches, I mean, at what point did he have to get away from coaching himself? When did he finally have a coach that uplifted him, that it wasn't just self-coaching?
We athletes and CEOs and those people, you can't rely on, say, well, I'll just coach myself. No, because what a coach is going to do is going to point out some of your areas, your blind spots, the areas that you don't see. And so with that being definitive that you don't see it, then you can't self-coach and be effective.
And I agree with that, but I think there's a point that they can reach without, that people can reach without having a coach. I mean, how long did Jordan go before he had a coach? Before he really had somebody that was, or I don't know. I mean, I don't know his story. We're not reading his book, but I'm interested. Like, where did at what point? I mean, like you said, some of these CEOs, some of these leaders have made it without a coach. They've made it really far without. And
every
I don't know.
every sports figure that has been successful only got so far based on their God-given talents. Two other things they had to have was the ability to push themselves beyond their limits and to be coached really well. If you don't have those
Agreed.
other two ingredients, you don't make it.
Not gonna
You
happen.
look at, there are examples that are used in the book of teams that, when you look at a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl winners, most of the people that are on the field in the huddle were not standout college players. They were drafted low, if they were drafted at all, but it was the quality of the coaching and the aspects that of she talks about in the book, culture, but it's the team culture that gets created. There's something there in the book. Greatness doesn't matter if you can't get everyone around you to be great. I love that. If I could put that on a poster somewhere, I'd do that, because, and that's why, teams who are a collection of individual stars routinely fail.
Right.
Because the greatness didn't make them a great team. They made them a bunch of egos competing with each other for success.
With coaches, even on some of these teams, I mean, some of these players have multiple coaches, right? We always see the main coach, but there's a lot of behind the scenes. Some of them have private coaches too that aren't even connected to the team. So I've seen, they might have a coach for strength. They might have a coach for personal life. They might have a coach for any of that. I mean, Vernon, how often do you see that with your executive, with the executives that you coach? So most of them only have one coach, right?
Most of them don't have any.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing that I found that impressed me over time was that was when I learned that Warren Buffett had a coach. And when you can reach the levels of success in business that Warren Buffett has achieved, and yet he has a coach, it's like, and I remember I first thought about it, I said, what the hell does Warren Buffett need with a coach? What, to help him make more money so he can make ends meet? But it's for somebody who wants to go above and beyond where they are. From people on the outside looking in, he looks like, he's tremendously successful. But he's on the inside looking out. He says, no, I know I can do better. I've got some blind spots. I don't know what they are, but I know that there's something holding me back, and I need somebody else to give me that input. So you're right. It's a matter of having somebody who can tell you what you need to hear and not be concerned about whether you're going to like it or not.
That's a great point. And the question I want to ask you guys, don't you find it odd how we have a double standard when it comes to sports and business when they're so interrelated, in my opinion? We applaud people like athletes that hire coaches, and we talk about the coach and how excellent it is that they have great coaching. But then we find it odd or bizarre that we would hire coaches in their executive lives. I just find that one an interesting point to me. I use coaches. They're fantastic, and they help immensely. So I just find it an odd observation.
I don't feel like it's taboo, taboo as much anymore for businesses. I think it's become standard. Like you're not gonna make it if you don't have a coach. Is what I mean. At least been my feeling when I've worked with C-levels and executives, even mid-level. I mean, as a senior manager, I was looking at coaches. So, but I think it also depends on what your goals are too. I mean, if you have ambitions and goals to reach a level above, a higher level, then yeah, you need a coach to be there, especially to accelerate yourself too. So,
I think it's changing. I think it's changing, Carissa, but I think, stereotypical old white male corporate America, was an ego-fueled boardroom exercise of, demonstrating no weakness, demonstrating that you didn't need anybody's help, that you made no mistakes. And you look at that and you just laugh, because it's comical. But that clearly was the corporate America that I grew up in. And, so it taught me certain things of how to behave. It wasn't necessarily the way I wanted to, but it was the way I had to for survival. Admitting mistakes, admitting you didn't know how to do something, admitting that I might need some help here. That ain't none of that's was gonna happen. So I think it's changing. In some places it's changed. It's past tense. In other places it has barely begun to change.
I found, and getting back to, the most recent book that we read about becoming coachable, is that people have to have a particular mindset for coaching to be effective. Because if the mindset is, if the person at the top says, look, we're going to get you a coach, and the person thinks, what did I do? I screwed up. They're going to bring in a coach. What's wrong? I don't need a coach. It's that mindset. And then other people, when they're, very knowledgeable, they say, oh, great, I'm going to get somebody that's going to help me get better at what I do. It's not that I'm not as good as I want to be. I want to get somebody who's going to help me get better. That's a mindset. And without that mindset, you're going to fight the coach. Again, remember reading some of the things about, look, the guy is meeting with a coach. He says, look, let's get this over with, because, I got things I need to meet with you. I'm going to meet with you, say what you got to say, and let me get on my way.
Check.
Exactly. And, that mindset is what's going to hold them back. And I had a meeting with a guy at City Club, and when he found out that I was a coach, he said, when I first was told that I was going to get a coach, he said, I fought it tooth and nail. He said, but when I finally decided to accept it, I told the guy, look, I know we're only good for a year, but I want to add 6 more months to what we're doing, because I see how effective you have made me become through your coaching. He says, so I changed my whole attitude about coaching.
Yep. 10, it still exists today, but certainly 10 and without a doubt 20 years ago, conversation at home would go something like this. The person who's the breadwinner comes home from their corporate work, and they start working, and the spouse says, what are you doing? I said, honey, I had an executive coach assigned to me. I'm working on my resume. That was the mentality. And now it'd be like, yay, I got one. They're funding one for me,
It's kind of like a luxury now.
Yeah.
You can tell when people are serious, because even if the company doesn't get them a coach or pays for a coach, they'll say, no, I'll pick up the tab. Well, I want to coach that much. I'll pay for my coach.
Yeah.
And I've had people say, the company won't pick up the tab, but I know what it can do for me, so I'll pay for the coaching.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's part of comp packages now. People are negotiating it in there. It's one more thing you can negotiate for.
Wow.
Oh, interesting.
I never thought about that, but it would make sense, Chris. It's yeah. Oh, by the way, I want a coach. Add that into my compensation package,
Mm-hmm.
And I want a good one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's I would definitely. I've thought about it. Depending on what level I'm interviewing for. So it's
coaches, they're the new Lamborghini.
Well, when somebody tells you that they have a coach, you automatically begin to thinking, if you're smart, you're knowledgeable, you got a coach, you're working with a coach. Yeah, I got an executive coach. This is somebody who's serious. This is somebody who is looking to make it to the top, wants to be successful. They've got a coach. And especially if they're saying, I went out and I got my own coach. Company didn't pay for it. I'm paying for it because I know.
Yeah.
That says a lot about somebody. You're dealing with somebody who's serious about their career, or their business when they go out and secure a coach.
Yep, I think we all agree. So Ferenc showed up in comments. Ferenc showed up in comments. He says he agrees. The comments aren't showing up on screen today, guys. So I don't know what's going on.
They're not showing up in StreamYard at all for me.
Yeah.
Haven't seen any. The private chat is, but the comments are not.
Yeah, Ferenc says it's a good read, and we're going back to the right call. But sometimes I had the feeling we were only scratching the surface. Plenty of nice anecdotes, quotes, some really useful points, and good advice. However, I was missing the science behind. Yes, I think he's like bang on there.
Yep. If there was an opportunity to click, did you find that comment useful? It would get a thumbs up from me.
Yeah. So read the book, The Right Call by Sally Jenkins, if you like. You know, I give it a, oh my gosh. I didn't like this one, you guys. I give it a 2.
Really? Oh man, Benita rating something lower than me.
Ooh.
Man,
Wow.
I'm doing my. This is the one I'm doing as my Sunday book post on LinkedIn, since it's my most recent completion, and I was vacillating between 3.5 and 4.
Woo!
They're influencing me to go, to go to the 3.5. But
I was like 3, and then I thought about it. I was like 3 is on the high side because I honestly wouldn't really recommend it. So 2, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
interesting to find out why people with two different mindsets read the same book,
Mhm.
but one gets more from it than the other. Why is that?
I don't know, but that's
But Benita, you did the Audible on this one, right?
Yeah, I did.
Right. I think it would be different if you did a Kindle version or a hardbound book, because as I mentioned, what I do, is if I've got the physical book, the highlighter's out, Hal old school.
Yeah.
But Kindle, what I do is, if I read something, I go, because I copy and paste it into a list, and I've got so much fodder from this book.
Right. There's a lot of good
useful things that when I take a step back, that's what would make me think, okay, it was to the individual who made that insightful comment, it was somewhat superficial, but it was still a lot of valuable nuggets, as I always like to say, in there.
I enjoyed
from the book with, like I said, 29 little passages, sentences, fragments of things.
I enjoyed her interviews with PBS and the one that Avel sent more than I enjoyed the book.
Interesting.
So I like the theory. I didn't like the way it was portrayed, and maybe it is because Audible is not working for me. So for the next book, I am going back to hard copy. We are reading Paradox.
I feel like I just got hit in the head with it.
Good thing you have 3D glasses on.
It is a book by Michael Woudenberg, and it is a conversation about AI and our humanity. Now, it just came out in the summer, so probably it doesn't have very many reviews yet.
Benita clued me in yesterday about this book. So, of course, I went to Amazon, and in the half dozen reviews, it's 5.0. Goodreads, it's like 4.9 or something like that, So it's early reviews. But I will say that if you want to obtain the book, the Kindle version was $4.99 yesterday when I bought it.
Yeah, so get on it if you're gonna
And it's fiction. It's a fiction book.
it's a fiction book. I'll read it's going to be a series. It's book 1 of the Singularity Chronicles. Kira and Noah face a choice. Do they follow in their father's footsteps, advancing artificial intelligence to allow their dying mother to live on? Or do they let her rest in peace and step away from the technology that is dividing humanity? Kira knows her choice and follows her vision to make a sentient AI that captures all of who her mother was, her path, her challenges, her commitment as she weaves together biology, psychology, philosophy, and robotics, working with world-class scientists to unlock the complexity of the human mind and achieve technological singularity. Her brother, Noah, follows his own vision of humanity, stepping back from advanced technology. He wants to return to an existence focusing on natural connections, not the artificial world of computers and virtual reality. He leads a team of elite resistance fighters to defend humanity against the dangers of AI, yet finds himself questioning which side is right. So I think, we can all kind of relate to that right now.
Yeah.
And I've been meaning to read a fiction for time now. But at the same time, we're going to be tackling the subject that all of society is talking about right now. So I think that's going to be really fun for December. And last year we did for a light read, we did how to not give a F or something. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So for our light read this year, we are doing Paradox, and I look forward to the discussions on AI and perspectives that you guys might get from the stories that are weaved in the pages of Paradox. And then as well, I follow the author, and he does great posts about the process of writing his book. So I hope we can get him on to talk about, like, what is it like as a male writing from a female perspective. And also he publicly says that AI ChatGPT was his co-writer for this book, and he explains that. So really cool stuff. He has a podcast, Polymathic Being, and Chris and I both follow him on LinkedIn. So if you haven't followed Michael Woodenberg, do that and get the book, $4.99 on Kindle. Paradox, book
Okay.
1, The Singularity Chronicles. What do you think? Everybody's been talking about AI and ChatGPT and all this stuff, like, related to their own sphere and their own ecosystems. Like, I just want to talk about AI and, like, morality and humanity. So let's do it.
I feel like science fiction has challenged AI for decades now. I mean, it's been something, if you go and look back at previous science fiction, there's lots that talk about AI and different things that could happen. And, I think that might be where we're at, some of where we're at now, where people who are familiar with that are just like, oh yeah, this is what AI could do versus what it can really do. So I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about that versus, people that are more realistic about, okay, what can it do, where we're headed right.
I think we already are, but we will be presented with moral and ethical dilemmas that we just haven't really completely thought through. And those people who have spent time thinking about it are they're optimistic about what it can do and extremely fearful of what might actually play out.
And I've sat through a few AI conferences, and one of the best things that I've heard is talking about policy for AI and how each company has to review their own policies for how they're going to use AI and what the boundaries are of it. And that, there's people that are finding that as a career now, is helping companies write policy for AI. So who are familiar with AI and doing that. So, I mean, if you're looking for a career and you like policy making, then look at how you set policy around AI. I mean, you don't even have to know, you don't have to understand the engineering of it to be able to write that either. So,
Right.
Yeah, I was just on a call before this with a bunch of people who lead internal audit functions. And one of the ones who is the chief audit executive and head of enterprise risk for a insurance company is helping the organization develop its AI governance policy. So it is very top of mind.
Cool. That
AI
gives me-
is such a hot topic now. And to me, I think there are some broad strokes that enable us to deal with it. First of all, it's like the internet was when the internet first came out, and they talked about what the internet could do and wouldn't do and how we should be afraid of it and so forth. First of all, AI is not going to go away. It's just not. It's not going to go away. So the option is you've got to learn to deal with it as effectively as possible. And it's like fire. Is fire good or is fire bad? Well, as long as fire is cooking your meals, it's good. It's when it gets to burning down your house that it's bad. But fire just is. AI just is. It's a matter of how we see it, how we use it, but we need to be sure that we get in front of it. That really is the bottom line. We have to get in front of it, decide how we're going to use it. We can't afford to be fearful about it because it is not going to go away. We don't function very well when we're all wrapped up in fear. It holds us back, it slows us down when we're fearful about something. And if we're going to be fearful about something that is not going to go away and can potentially help us, then again, we need to just make sure that we stay in front of it. That's all.
Yeah.
No, we'll pick up that debate on the next call.
Yeah. Chris, I know that you've picked up the book. How far are you in?
I'm a few chapters in, and just listening to the conversation here so far, you guys are gonna enjoy it.
Okay, great. I can't wait to catch up and then rehash it week by week. If we just go 3 chapters at a time, I think we should be finished in 3 weeks. So book club is going to be, we're going to skip next week, which is Happy Thanksgiving to the Americans. That's why Jenny and Hannah had to leave early. I saw in the chat. They had another meeting and they said Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Ciao. I have a lot to be grateful for, and I hope you do too. I hope you find yourself safe and stuffed and warm on Thanksgiving, falling asleep in front of the TV.
I think the fact that we're here says we have a lot to be thankful for.
Oh, totally.
Agreed.
So we start from the basics. We're here, we're breathing. Everyone looks relatively well fed. That in and of itself says a lot for what we have to be thankful for. So
Yeah.
Go from there and build.
Yep.
I love that.
I love that too. So I'll have a series of posts, but book club will be November 30th, December 14th, and December 28th.
Okay.
Date.
Great.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.